This is United Network News with Sunny Galt, Calen, Kimberly Gogan, and our field messengers from around the world. Here's today's real news.
It's Friday, July 4th, 2025, and here are today's stories. Euthanasia, legal in countries like Belgium and Canada, but strictly banned elsewhere. Is it a compassionate way to end suffering or a dangerous line to cross? A powerful new documentary is shining light on adverse reactions to COVID-19 vaccines, sharing personal stories and calling for more honest conversations and research. Our field messenger in Canada has the full story. Ever think calorie labels help you eat healthier? A new study says they might actually confuse you, making junk food seem less bad and healthy food seem less good. In Australia, a grassroots campaign called The Forest of the Fallen quietly honors lives lost despite facing heavy censorship. Field messenger Liz and John show us how their community keeps this important message alive. Over in Montana, our field messenger Adaria takes us to a small town where a striking Veterans Memorial stands as a heartfelt tribute to those who served, reflecting deep community gratitude. And millions of fake social media accounts known as bot farms are flooding our feeds every day, shaping what we see and believe. Our team explains how to spot these bots and how to protect yourself online.
Euthanasia is a deeply complex and emotional topic that stirs up passionate discussions around the world. On one hand, some view it as a compassionate choice to relieve suffering, while others see it as a morally contentious act that challenges the values of life. It's tricky to untangle the ethical, medical, and personal layers involved, making it one of the most debated issues today.
In Europe, several countries have legalized forms of euthanasia or assisted suicide for the terminally ill. The Netherlands and Belgium were pioneers, with both allowing euthanasia since 2002, and later extending the right to children under strict conditions. Switzerland permits assisted suicide and has become a hub for suicide tourism, while Spain introduced a tightly regulated euthanasia law in 2021. In Italy, assisted suicide has faced legal hurdles, but Tuscany recently took the lead with regional regulations. Meanwhile, the United Kingdom and Scotland are debating laws to allow assisted dying, but implementation remains years away. In France, Alliance Vita raised concerns about vague criteria in a proposed end-of-life bill, warning it could be misused. Meanwhile, Belgium is considering allowing euthanasia for dementia patients who signed a request in advance. Supporters argue it offers control when communication is no longer possible.
Belgium recorded unprecedented figures regarding euthanasia, nearly 3,500 cases in 2023. That is, of the people who died that year, 3 out of the 10 requested to die by this practice. This country was the second in the European Union to legalize euthanasia in 2002, and since then, cases have increased by 1,200%, going from 259 in its first year to 12 times that number in just 2 decades. In fact, initially, only terminally ill patients were eligible to request it, but since 2014, minors and, for example, people with Alzheimer's or serious mental illnesses have also been included.
At a certain age, or if you have a certain disease, if you have, a certain problem even. I mean, in Belgium right now, even a depression could be a cause to request euthanasia, is something where people then all of a sudden feel like I have to do this because that's what society expects of me.
In Europe, 8 countries have laws that allow euthanasia, including Spain and Germany. In Colombia, for example, it has been considered a constitutional right since 1998. It is also necessary to differentiate, as many states do, between euthanasia, which is administered by healthcare personnel, and assisted suicide, in which the drug can be administered by another person, even the patient themselves. This is the case in the United States, where euthanasia is not legal, but assisted suicide is permitted in some states when the life expectancy is 6 months or less. That is what is practiced in Washington, California, and Colorado.
Suzanne Kummer, a bioethicist from Vienna, has raised concerns about how euthanasia is changing the way society views aging and care. She warns normalizing euthanasia can lead to a dangerous shift where cost saving takes precedence over providing proper care for seniors. When euthanasia becomes an accepted option, the pressure for early death can unintentionally grow, especially for vulnerable groups. Canada provides a striking example of how quickly access to euthanasia can expand. Just 5 years after legalizing it, Canada's MAID program now allows people with serious, incurable conditions and unbearable suffering to qualify, even if their death isn't reasonably predictable. According to Health Canada's latest report on medical assistance in dying, in 2023, 1 out of 20 Canadians who died received a physician-assisted death, including those with neurological disorders, chronic pain, and even diabetes or mental illness. Some reports show cases even included conditions like joint problems, hearing, or vision loss, and other internal issues, raising questions about who truly benefits from these changes.
MAID, medical assistance in dying. This is legal and it's accounted for over 70,000 deaths now in Canada since 2016. Why do you think the government is pursuing this so aggressively? Do you think it's compassion or do you think it's just to save money?
It all starts off with good intentions, but I think it gets taken over. The whole idea of MAID is being repurposed and for budgetary reasons. And I think there was even a federal report on the benefits, the financial benefits of MAID, because as you know, the cost of care that for end of life is where it surges, right? What I'd still like to know, by the way, is the effect on insurance policies, if it's considered, how the payouts work in that situation. I'm guessing they pay out regardless, it doesn't void the policy. It's troubling because they're using it now to allocate resources for other things, financial resources. You look at GAC, but the global affairs and the money they're spending, where it's going. You see some of the frivolous spending. It's heartbreaking because, at the end of the day, it is costing lives, but we're not investing in things.
Health Canada's report also shows 2,200 doctors and nurses euthanized at least one patient in 2023, but just 89 practitioners handled more than 5,300 deaths. That's about 60 in a year. While the government frames this as focused expertise, it's unsettling to think some practitioners are essentially specializing in ending lives. With minimal oversight in most provinces, it's hard to know if these doctors are staying within legal boundaries. However, Canada is facing international pushback over its expanded MAID laws. In a March 2025 report, the UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities recommended Canada to stop offering MAID to people who aren't terminally ill and stop plans to expand it for mental illness, minors, or advance requests. The committee called the 2021 expansion extremely concerning and questioned its compliance with international disability rights. Euthanasia is illegal in the United States, but as of May 2025, MAID is legal in 11 U.S. states and Washington, D.C. These laws, often called death with dignity laws, started in Oregon back in 1997 and have inspired similar laws across the country.
Gallup conducted a study on Americans' opinions on assisted death and euthanasia. Here are the stats. 71% of Americans believe doctors should legally be allowed to end the patient's life by some painless means if the patient and his or her family requests it. This would be considered euthanasia. Surprisingly, more Americans actually support euthanasia over assisted death, but majority still supports legalizing assisted death, with 66% supporting it for terminal patients. Gallup also asked Americans whether they morally supported assisted death. Only a slim majority, at 53%, agree that the procedure is morally acceptable. 40% of people call it morally wrong. If we break this down a bit, we find that 67% of those who rarely or never attend a religious service view assisted death as morally acceptable, whereas only 29% of those who attend services weekly view it as morally acceptable. 66% of the most religious Americans believe that assisted death is morally wrong. This is interesting because you see a difference between the legality and the morality of assisted death and euthanasia. And so you wonder, should morals dictate laws? And in what cases, if they should?
Assisted suicide is a controversial topic in the disability community. Supporters believe it gives people with serious illnesses or conditions more control over their future, while critics argue it reinforces harmful stereotypes about living with a disability. Some feel it sends the wrong message, that disabled lives are less valuable. Even with the ongoing debate, efforts to legalize assisted suicide in the U.S. have been slow, with little movement from the public or politicians in recent years.
A new documentary, Why Can't We Talk About This?, premiered in Hamilton, Canada, exploring the controversial topic of adverse reactions to COVID-19 vaccines. Featuring personal stories and expert insights, it calls for open discussions and further research on vaccine impacts.
United Network News, Field Messenger Mira, reporting from Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. A powerful and highly anticipated documentary titled Why Can't We Talk About This? Premiered Friday night at a local Hamilton theater, the only venue in the region willing to host a screening. The film, produced independently by Rainy Media without external funding, explores the controversial and often silenced topic of adverse reactions to COVID-19 mRNA vaccines. Centered on the story of Michael, a man in his 50s suffering from severe health complications following vaccination, the documentary features testimony from medical experts, legal analysts, and public figures. The film aims to uncover truths that many feel have been suppressed in recent years. Director Dean Rainey shared that the project began with the simple intention of interviewing a fellow filmmaker from his town. However, when the initial interview was swiftly removed from social media platforms, Rainey questioned the growing censorship surrounding vaccine-related discussions. That experience became the catalyst for a deeper investigation. The premiere was followed by a live Q&A session featuring prominent voices, including Dr. Byron Brittle, Dr. Chris Shoemaker, and Dr. David Speecher. All three volunteered their time to engage directly with the audience of nearly 200 attendees. An unexpectedly diverse mix of unvaccinated individuals, vaccine skeptics, and people who had once fully supported the vaccine rollout but later experienced injuries themselves. The atmosphere remains respectful and open as attendees raised thoughtful questions and shared personal stories. Dr. Byron Brittle, a viral immunologist, emphasized the need for further research and funding. He claimed that mRNA vaccines, unlike traditional ones designed to prevent biological processes, appear to induce continuous production of spike proteins. According to Brittle, his findings suggest that these vaccines may even result in the creation of unfamiliar proteins within the body, raising concerns about long-term health impacts. It may take another form of gene therapy to reverse the damage, he said. Dr. David Speecher, an infectious disease researcher, revealed that he is currently studying a potential alteration in human DNA linked to vaccinated parents. Having analyzed vaccine vials from several major manufacturers, Speecher said early findings prompted him to investigate whether a new DNA code may be emerging. He expects to release his findings in the next 6 to 8 months. The documentary premiere not only offered new perspectives on a continuous issue, but also served as a call to action. Those interested in viewing and or purchasing the film can visit rainymedia.com. The film silently calls for medical professionals who may be able to assist Michael, who is now living in long-term care following a deterioration of his condition. Despite his challenges, Michael remains hopeful that a path to healing exists. As the film message urges, it's time we talk about it. Field Messenger Mira reporting from Hamilton for United Network News.
Hi everyone, this is Leanne.
And I'm Jerry.
Coming to you from Tamworth, New South Wales.
Hi there, this is Rick from Arizona.
My name is Uchechukwu Obeneba from Igbo tribe, Nigeria.
Hi, this is Scott from Utah.
I'm Annette from Agassiz, British Columbia.
Hi, I'm Marcus Sulzet from Manipur State, India.
Real people reporting real stories from all around the world. That's what United Network News is all about.
Can you clap?
We had a huge flood, which some call the flood of the century.
No fake news here. Our field messengers share personal experiences of what's really happening in their community.
We got some nice fish out here.
At UNN, you are the news.
My family and I had a very good time.
Take the next step. Become a UNN field messenger and share the real news with the world.
In the northwest province of South Africa, I am United Network News.
I am United Network News.
I am United Network News.
I am United Network News, and if it's going to be, it's up to me.
It's going to be, it's up to me. If it is going to be, it's up to me.
If it's going to be, it's up to me.
If it's going to be, it's up to us. Field Messages, United Network News. See you next time.
Calorie labels are everywhere these days, from menus at restaurants to the packaging of our favorite snacks. They're supposed to help us make healthier choices by showing us exactly what we're eating. But are they actually helpful, or are they just adding another layer of confusion to our already busy lives?
The reality is they might be doing more harm than good. A recent study in the Journal of Retailing found calorie labels can actually confuse people when it comes to judging how healthy a food is. For example, when participants focused on calorie counts, they rated unhealthy foods as less unhealthy and healthy foods as less healthy, making their decisions less accurate. Without calorie info, they could tell the difference between healthy and unhealthy choices much more clearly. But first things first, do you know how they even come up with those calorie numbers in the first place?
So if Recipal's numbers come from nutrition databases, then we need to find out where the numbers in nutrition databases come from. We can search through some of those databases on the website of the U.S. Department of Agriculture. For each food, they list the vitamins and minerals determined through lab testing. That's what analytical means. But when you scroll up to find the calories, it says it doesn't come from lab testing. Instead, it says calculated. And in the documentation, the USDA explains that a lot of the calorie numbers are, quote, calculated using the Atwater general factors of 4, 9, and 4 for protein, fat, and carbohydrates. All right, what does that mean? Protein, fat, and carbohydrates, we learned those are the macronutrients. That's where we get the energy from our food. And 4, 9, and 4 are the calorie values for a gram of each of those macronutrients. So if a banana has 22 grams of carbohydrates, you multiply that times 4, multiply each gram of fat by 9, and each gram of protein by 4, and you get a total for each ingredient. Then add those up to get a total for your recipe.
It seems calories matter most when it comes to weight management, both for losing and gaining weight. At least that's what we've all been told. But it turns out this old school idea doesn't fully hold up. According to Dr. Fatima Cody Stanford from Harvard Medical School, weight loss isn't just about calories in and out. Factors like your metabolism, the type of food you eat, and even your gut health play a role. Two people can eat the same number of calories and see completely different results. Plus, have you ever wondered how accurate calorie labels really are? Here's something to think about. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration allows up to a 20% margin of error on those labels, which could seriously throw off your calculations. Makes you think twice about trusting the numbers, doesn't it?
I want to show you an interesting study that looked at digesting whole almonds versus finely ground almonds. And what they found is that when you eat the whole nut, you actually don't absorb a lot of the fat that is present, which meant that the calories on the nutrition panel, they were overestimated by about 32%. Now, as you might expect, when you eat the ground almonds, because processing has ruptured that structure, now you do absorb all of that fat, so the calories are accurate. So there's really this difference in microstructure of a, whole intact almond versus finely ground almond, where it's altering how much fat you absorb and actually are the calories accurate or not.
If reading labels and counting calories feels like a total headache, AI-powered calorie tracking apps might seem like a convenient solution. These apps promise to simplify things, offering accuracy and ease for anyone trying to stay on track. Sounds great, in theory, but they're not so perfect. Issues like inaccurate portion sizes or incomplete food databases can throw off your results. Plus, relying too much on these apps can make you overly fixated on calorie tracking, which research shows isn't always helpful. Sure, they can be a useful tool, but they're not magic. A little mindfulness goes a long way.
Cal AI that says you can take a photo of your meal and it will know all the calories and macros, it doesn't work and it never will. Let me lay it out for you. You take a photo of a meal and the app doesn't know how much the meal weighs. It's not gonna be accurate at all. Worst part is all of your favorite influencers are promoting it for money. They're getting a bag. I know people who don't agree with the app and are still promoting it because they're getting a bag. Also, get real. It's more expensive than MyFitnessPal, where you could take a photo of the barcode and it will actually be accurate. If you want to get into shape like this, you just can't take shortcuts like that. It's also not even a shortcut. It just lies to you. It's not even true. Don't ever use it. Don't ever buy it. It's lying.
So what's the solution? Calorie labels don't necessarily need to disappear, but they could use some upgrades. Some European countries have introduced tools like traffic light indicators or nutrition scores that make food choices easier to understand at a glance. Another idea is showing how a food item fits into daily calorie needs, though that's tricky since everyone's needs are so different.
At the end of the day, it's all about balance. Labels, apps, and calorie counts can give us guidance, but they shouldn't replace common sense or big picture approach to health. Maybe it's time we stopped obsessing over the numbers and focused on what makes us feel good and nourished instead.
There is a campaign in Australia called Forest of the Fallen that gives a voice to the silenced. It has been embraced by the people and heavily censored. UNN field messengers Liz and John show us their local campaign.
Hi everyone, this is Liz and John, field messengers for UNN. Today we are reporting from the mining town of Singleton, located in the Hunter Valley of the state of New South Wales, Australia.
Today, a group of like-minded souls have decided to hold a silent vigil in Singleton, known as the Forest of the Fallen. The display took place over a 1 kilometre stretch of road along Rose Point Park.
The concept of the Forest of the Fallen was originally developed by an Australian who wanted to give a voice to those who have died or who have been seriously injured by the COVID-19 injections.
These inoculations were mandated by our tyrannical government from 2021. People were threatened with job losses if they failed to comply with the government's so-called mandates. The Forest today features 500 real people whose stories have already been publicly shared and published, either by them or their loved ones, on multiple platforms, but many of their stories have been censored and deleted by the government on social media.
It is a respectful way of raising awareness to the wider, largely uninformed community of Singleton of the harms and losses that might potentially befall them as a consequence of these injections.
Thank you for watching.
The town of Darby in Montana, USA, honors the service of veterans with one of the largest memorials in the region. UNN Field Messenger Adaria guides us through this powerful symbol of gratitude.
Hi, this is Adaria, Field Messenger for United Network News, and I'm coming to you from Darby, Montana, and we're at the very south end of the Bitterroot Valley. And here in Montana, most people are probably not aware, but Montana has the highest per capita veterans in America. So any town you go to, you're going to see, pretty much any town, you're going to see at least a small veterans memorial, if not a big one like this. This one is actually really nice. There are so many here in just this valley alone, including my own 91-year-old father, a veteran of the Korean War. The back of the t-shirt is worn by a 78-year-old gentleman, a veteran of the Vietnam War. His story was so interesting and his positive look most inspiring after all he's been through and deals with on a daily basis. So this memorial here in Darby, Montana, for all branches of the military, for all those who served. Here are just a few examples of the people who have donated to create this memorial. And as I said, this is very typical of any town here in Montana having the highest per capita veterans in the United States. Locals, everyone here, so proud of all their veterans. And again, this is Adaria reporting to you from Darby, Montana, in the Bitterroot Valley. Have a blessed day.
If you've ever scrolled through social media and thought, are all these accounts even real? You're not alone. Every day, millions of people unknowingly interact with bots instead of humans. These fake accounts don't just clutter your feed. They can warp what stories trend, twist public debates, and even sway elections. Understanding how bot farms work and how to spot them is one of the best ways to protect your time, your money, and even your beliefs.
A bot farm is basically a digital factory full of fake online accounts, or bots, controlled by software and sometimes human operators. These bots can be set up to do almost anything a real user might. Follow accounts, like posts, share content, leave comments, send messages, or even mimic conversations. The farm part comes from the scale. Operators don't just run a few bots. They run thousands, sometimes millions. With cloud servers and specialized software, a single bot master can deploy an army of automated profiles that flood platforms with coordinated activity.
This is a Chinese phone farm, and these phones represent some of the people you're arguing with in the comments. You may find this hard to believe, but what you're seeing is just one example of the hundreds, if not thousands, of these farms around the world today. Each farm has hundreds of smartphones, often with their screens and batteries removed, placed into racks and connected to a single computer. Each phone represents an individual user. One command from the computer can trigger hundreds of likes, follows, and even star ratings. But if you think that's crazy, here's more. With artificial intelligence, they can now generate smart, human-like interactions tailored to a video's topic, such as comments in the comment section. But why do they do this? Mostly to make money. Click farmers get paid for fake engagement, earning 2 cents for 1,000 views on TikTok, for example, or 11 cents for 1,000 likes on Instagram.
Bot farms do more than just clutter up your social feeds. They can quietly shape what stories trend, what opinions seem popular, and even how communities feel about each other. By flooding the internet with fake likes, comments, and shares, they make certain ideas look way more popular than they really are. This kind of manipulation chips away at trust in real information and drowns out genuine voices with artificial noise. Over time, it can fuel divisions by boosting extreme posts and burying thoughtful discussion under a pile of spam and outrage. Governments have caught on to how powerful bot farms can be too. Around the world, state-backed operators run massive networks of fake accounts to push government-friendly news, praise leaders, attack critics, and make it look like the public is unified when it's not. During elections or protests, these bots can stir up anger and confusion, making it harder for people to figure out what's actually true and who really supports what. It's a sneaky way to control the narrative.
Russia just got caught running a bot farm that spreads disinformation to Americans. Russia is super good at this kind of hacking and spreading of misinformation. It's a key part of their hybrid psychological warfare. But the U.S. Department of Justice just discovered a farm of 968 Twitter accounts that a Russian propaganda news outlet was using to spread misinformation. 968 Twitter accounts that looked like American people. It looked like it was just a human, but it was really a Russian propaganda news outlet. The DOJ found that the Russian security services were directly overseeing this effort. The Department of Justice seized these domain names, shut the operation down, but this is a whack-a-mole game. Russia has a wide-scale psychological and information warfare machine that they use to spread lies around the whole world. I mean, honestly, it's the best time to do it. The internet is a fantastic way to wage psychological warfare.
According to the 2025 Imperva Bad Bot Report, bots now make up more than 51% of all web traffic, meaning automated scripts finally outnumber humans online for the first time in a decade. Even more alarming, so-called bad bots, the kind used for fraud, spam, scraping, and manipulation, account for about 37% of all traffic, a steady rise from just a few years ago. Another recent report from Fastly backs this up, showing bots generate more than a third of global internet traffic, and nearly 90% of that automated traffic is considered unwanted. So, every time you scroll, click, or argue online, there's a good chance you're interacting with code, not an actual person. This tidal wave of bots feeds into what some call the dead internet theory, which suggests the internet as we know it, a lively place buzzing with human conversation and creativity, is quietly being smothered by bots, AI content farms, and algorithm-driven noise.
I think it's a great time for us to take another look at the dead internet theory, which we might need to start calling the dying internet theory. The original dead internet theory was basically the idea that the entire internet died in 2016, and everything posted on it since has been artificially generated content created to gaslight the entire world. That was a bit of a reach at the time, but it sort of looks like that's the future that we're headed to. 100 million people use ChatGPT every single week, and 70% of Gen Z has used generative AI to create something. Video scripts, thumbnails, filters, blog posts, captions, tweets, the list goes on. More and more content that we see online has been generated or altered by artificial intelligence. Experts say that in only 2 years from now, 90% of the content posted on the internet will be AI generated, which is only part one of this because, like I mentioned at the start of this video, your face and your voice can now be stolen and replicated to create the illusion of you doing something that you never actually did. Right now, the rule of thumb should be don't believe everything that you see on the internet, but soon enough, it might be don't believe anything you see on the internet.
Spotting a bot farm in action isn't too hard once you know what to look for. If you see dozens or hundreds of accounts posting the exact same comment, sharing the same link at the same time, or flooding hashtags with copy-paste replies, that's a big red flag. Bots often have generic usernames, no real profile picture, and hardly any personal posts. If an account feed looks empty or weirdly repetitive, or if the comments feel robotic and off-topic, trust your gut, it's probably a bot. Now it's your turn. Join our weekly meetings and become a field messenger. More information is available at our website, unitednetwork.earth. We're UNN, and we're taking back the news.